Not a great doctor, but he's a hell of a promoter. But Fauci has perhaps never been more wrong than when he denied the virus and where it came from. The time has come for America and the world to demand reparations and accountability from the communists. It's a great party of China.
There's been no more prominent scientist in favor of gain-of-function research than Dr. Fauci. He still hasn't backed off of that position. He believes that it's okay to take animal viruses, make them into super viruses to infect humans, even if a pandemic should occur. He says, oh, the research is worth it. But you know, there's a host of other scientists in this field, and they say it's not worth it at all, that we haven't learned anything. All we've done is put ourselves at risk. But even after all of this evidence points towards the Wuhan lab, this last week in committee, Dr. Fauci said that he still trusts the Chinese scientists. And the thing is that's a very naive notion. That's how we got here. But there are worse viruses. This is a bad one. This has about a 1% mortality, 3.5 million people have died. But they've been experimenting with some viruses that have 15% mortality. That would mean 50 million deaths right now. So this kind of research needs not to be funded by the U.S. taxpayer. And so I had an amendment this week that passed actually unanimously saying no more funds for this Wuhan lab. So we'll see what Dr. Fauci has to say. But he doesn't really have the... There's a lot of pools of money. There's a group called Eco Health Alliance, this Peter Zonk. He's got $100 million over the last several years. Now, not all of it's gone to Wuhan, but they say as much as 3 to 4 million may have. But there's lots of pots of money. There's defense money, there's secret money, there's money we don't even know about because it's classified. But this research is being done in the United States as well. It's very, very dangerous. And I want scientists that are not partisan to come to Washington. So I sent a letter today to the head of my committee in Homeland Security and also the Health Committee to say we need to have a hearing with impartial scientists who are on the other side of Dr. Fauci, who believe that it's incredibly dangerous.
China has a history of lab accidents. This outbreak happened in a city that happened to be the home, coincidentally, of a lab which we know is involved in extensive research. And what they do is they take this naturally occurring virus and they manipulate it and they change it to make it infectious to humans. We know that they do that there. They've published about it. And it also happened in a city, in a lab, where a Rutgers biosecurity expert raised concerns about its safety. And our diplomats in 2018 were cabling back to Washington expressing concern about the safety. So I take all those facts together, right? All these facts were available to us last May, last April. Why? I'll start with Dr. Fauci. Why did you dismiss the lab leak theory as credible?
I have always said that the high likelihood is that this is a natural occurrence. I didn't dismiss anything. I just said it's a high likelihood that this is a natural occurrence from the environment of an animal reservoir that we have not yet identified. Well, and I still maintain that, but as I just mentioned in response to other questions, that since you don't know 100% about that, because no one knows, including me, 100%, what the origin is the reason why we're in favor of further investigation.
What is it that we're basing the higher likelihood of naturally occurring? Is it simply because that's all we've ever seen in the past?
Well, we have historical experience that happened with SARS-CoV-1. It happened with MERS. It happened with HIV. It happened with virtually all the influenza pandemics. So the historical basis for pandemics evolving naturally from an animal reservoir is extremely strong. And it's for that reason that we felt that something similar like this has a much higher likelihood. But again, getting back to what I said, and let me repeat so there's no lack of clarity in that, no one knows, not even I, 100% at this point, which is the reason why we are in favor of further investigation.
I just want to go through, so we heard a lot about what we're doing. So here are the things that we do, okay?
Can we agree that if you took President Xi Jinping and turned him upside down and shook him, the World Health Organization would fall out of his pocket?
I don't think I can answer that question, sir. I'm sorry.
What do you think that the President Xi Jinping has undue influence over the World Health Organization, do you?
I have no way of knowing the influence of the president of China over the WHO.
So you think the WHO is a completely independent body, level playing field, call it like you see it, and they really want to get to the bottom of the origin of the virus. Do you believe that?
My interaction with the WHO and for Dr. Tedros, the Director General, has been one that I do believe he's a person of high degree of integrity.
This bureaucracy needs to be brought to account. You can't have a bureaucracy that's just going out and issuing these rules on the fly. They literally said, if you're sunbathing on a cruise ship, you have to wear a mask. Really? I mean, give me a break. And I think now with Fauci's emails, and you see all this stuff, it's pretty clear that a lot of this stuff was fly by the seat of your pants guidance. This was not based on hard data. In fact, there were people who were showing, pointing out about that this thing came from the lab. If you said that a year ago, corporate media said you were a conspiracy theorist. Facebook would deplatform you for saying that. Now, it's almost impossible to make the case it was natural because they haven't been able to do any linkage, and it's 15 months plus later. And so the lab leak is by far the most plausible explanation. And so we just have to ask ourselves, why was Fauci and these other people sending grants to Wuhan or some of these other places? I'm sorry, that is not an appropriate use of taxpayer dollar money. And when he testified many years ago that doing gain-of-function research, the risk of having a pandemic is worth doing the research, I disagree with that. I think this has been a disaster what's happened, and China has covered it up. They need to be held accountable, but the bureaucrats in the United States also need to be accountable for what they did.